Staff at the minimum security farm noticed the inmate was missing during a routine head count at 8:30 last night. He'd last been seen in the grounds an hour before. Located 40 kilometres east of Glen Innes, the correctional centre has no fences, making escape easy. The prisoner had been serving a sentence of over 6 years for rape, assault and stealing offences. He is 31 years old and is described as short, thin-build, having a shaved head and a moustache.
We do ask that anybody that does see this gentleman not to approach him but to contact their local police. We have notified through all our rural watch areas in the vicinity of the jail that this chap has absconded from the jail.
Just before lunch every day, these children at Brendell Preschool at Mount Hutton close their eyes in prayer to thank God for the food they're eating. But it's a custom which apparently isn't accepted by the National Childcare Accreditation Council. In a recent assessment, a reviewer rated as basic the school's performance in treating children equally, accommodating their individual needs and respecting their diversity of background. The only explanation, in the reviewer's words, prayers were to be said by all children at lunchtime. Children were asked to close their eyes and put their hands together. Because this preschool said a prayer before lunch, they risk losing their accreditation.
That's right, and the bottom line is if you are not accredited, then you lose your funding.
While the preschool concerned couldn't comment on the matter, the Child Carers Association says it's just one of many unusual items preschools are being penalised for.
There are many items that if a reviewer wants to, that they could downgrade the centre on.
The National Childcare Accreditation Council says the saying of grace is a matter for the parents and the preschool concerned. When asked why then did a reviewer mark Brendell's performance down because a prayer was said, the council spokesperson refused to comment. Jodie McKay, NBN News. The 34th Matara Festival was officially launched today with a taste of what's to come. The Matara Festival begins tomorrow with concerts at the brewery. As in years gone by, other attractions will include the Grand Parade, a carnival atmosphere in Civic Park and a variety of exhibitions.
One of our important features is that we've moved into the Honeysuckle Heritage Buildings, and there'll be beautiful displays there with the indoor art, with the craft, with the Orchid Society.
This year Matara will finish with an opera in King Edward Park.
Because there's something there for everyone.
Jane Anderson, NBN News.
The Australian rules legend was a special guest at the night's grand final lunch as the club strives for its first senior premiership. With that goal in mind, the Knights couldn't have called on a better credentialed man, as Barassi won a remarkable 10 flags and knows what it takes to claim a title.
It often gets down to who's got the most courage and who wants it the most. That's why you often see a team from the year before who's missed out just raising their desperation levels an extra notch.
And that's the exact position the Knights find themselves in after losing last year's grand final to Cronulla. In a confidence boost towards reversing that result, Craig Morley seems certain to play, but may relinquish the goal kicking to Andrew Tangata-Toa, who constantly hit his training target this morning.
Mate, third time lucky, hopefully, but no, there's a good air of confidence going around. Everyone's pretty confident we can beat Cronulla.
His coach shares the optimism but admits to feeling the tension in the build-up to Sunday.
Coach was ordinary early in the week, but he's not too bad at the moment, so it's coming in the other way. The players are a bit nervous now, so that's probably a good sign.
Ordinary would also be the best description for Steve Crow's luck. The skipper forced onto the sidelines for yet another grand final after breaking his leg last week.
Didn't feel so bad last year. I played mainly first grade. It wasn't really part of the squad, but this year we've won 6 in the trot, and I was part of all those wins, so it is disappointing to miss out.
Needing to beat South Australia to win the title, New South Wales made a bad start in this morning's foursomes, losing both matches. Newcastle's Adele Bannerman and Casino's Michelle Ellis fell victim to national champions Jan Dale Harris and Anne-Marie Knight, the latter draining a 10-metre birdie to clinch the match 6-5. While the South Aussies were running hot with the blade, the putter was the demise of the Blues' other pair of Cessnock's Dale Linnetson and Sydney's Sylvia Donoghue. Despite a birdie on 16, they were defeated 2-1, giving the South Australians a big advantage going into the individual afternoon matches. Bannerman and Donoghue were the only victors for New South Wales, succumbing to South Australia 5 matches to 2. Queensland also beat Tasmania by the same margin to reclaim the interstate title, which it last won in 1993. The first quarter was the Robert Rose show, as the 36ers import set an NBL record for points scored in the opening term, connecting with 21 of his team's 25. But the Falcons kept pace with the locals, Tony Jensen copping plenty of extra attention. Level at the end of the first, the next 2 periods were a nightmare for the Falcons. Reggie Smith got into foul trouble, forcing him to the bench. Coach Wiseman lost his cool, earning a technical foul, and the Falcons found themselves 27 behind early in the third term. But in a confidence boost for tomorrow afternoon, Newcastle rallied to be just 11 behind at the final break. The margin was cut to 3 in the last quarter before that man stung the Falcons again. Rose finished with 46 for the match, almost half the 36ers' points. The decider to be played in Adelaide tomorrow afternoon. It took just 9 minutes for University to open their grand final account, David Nyman scoring one of the easier goals of his career. 6 minutes later, Peter Sweeney's lightning cross found the ever-present Andrew Abbo for a 2-0 lead. Veteran Sweeney was playing as if it was his first grand final and set up his side's third, scored by Greg Nyman after a goalmouth skirmish. West finally got on the board through Dean Farrow, but any chance of a comeback was ended when Greg Nyman scored his second 4 minutes into the second half. Amanda Payne got Novos off to a bright start in the women's grand final, which was answered by the first of a Julie Towers hat-trick for Oxford's. Sally Richardson also scored twice for Novos, with Alex Sharmy breaking a 3-3 deadlock with 4 minutes remaining. The Knights were welcomed home last night at the Newcastle Workers Club, most sporting a new look. Among them, captain Tim Maddison, whose shiny dome matched the cherished trophy he proudly displayed.
Stefan done a good job. He got his boat down there from the Gold Coast and come down and cut all our hairs. And mate, I'm pretty happy with mine.
And when it comes to doing something just a little offbeat, you can bet one prop will follow the other.
Nice haircut.
Yeah, lovely. Looks good. What do you reckon?
But for Collins and Maddison, yesterday's win was a fitting farewell, as they, along with Robbie Ross, are the only 3 reserve graders not contracted for next season. And the man who's played a large part in their development is coach Peter Sharp, who is still coming to terms with the triumph.
Well, 6 weeks ago we were no chance and all of a sudden we're premiers, so it's been a great 6 weeks and it's great credit to them. They've been magnificent.
As was halfback Brett Kamali in yesterday's 22-10 win. Ironically, brother Craig was on crutches last night, but 6 weeks ago Brett was in the same situation and told he would miss the rest of the season. He recovered and the rest is history.
2 tries. Lucky to score 2 tries the whole year, but this game is sensational.
First and reserve grades will parade down Hunter Street at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning.
The Knights, first and reserve grade, were treated as kings for a day, the fans turning out to thank the players for their effort. Reserve grade's history-making win over Cronulla was the Knights' first grand final victory, coach Peter Sharp proudly displaying the Victors' Cup.
You're not going to let go of that cup?
No, not for a while. No, it took too long to get. We're going to hold it for a while.
Not that you can tell, but the reserve graders have been letting their hair down these last 2 days. The first graders were a little more subdued, but thrilled by the attention nonetheless.
Oh, it's fantastic, very good. Especially on a day like this to turn up and give all the support. Much appreciated from the boys.
And the support didn't stop there. Hundreds more adoring fans lined up to meet the stars at Stockland Mall. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
Police were back at the scene this morning hoping to find some of the belongings of 16-year-old Benjamin Smith. Ben was at a party at this house on Trotter Road at Bob's Farm on Saturday night. The next morning he was rushed to John Hunter Hospital by rescue helicopter. He remains there in a serious condition with a ruptured spleen.
Ben's only been going out for the last 2 months and it's about the 4th or 5th party he's been to, and I've been very strict, and to something like this that happened in Anna Bay.
Sharon Barry says her son remembers little of the night. She was awoken at 2:30 Sunday morning when Ben was brought home.
3 guys come to the door and just said to me then that my son had been bashed and he was out in the car and he was completely naked.
It appears that it was a fairly cowardly attack, certainly callous. He suffered internal injuries and injuries that you could probably associate with someone being dragged through bushes naked.
Ben was found crawling across the road not far from where the party was held. He'd been savagely beaten and his wallet and watch stolen. What makes this attack on Benjamin all the more horrific is that he was left lying by the side of the road for up to an hour. It's believed those leaving the party have walked past him but have done nothing to help.
Ben was lying in the middle of the road and people were walking around him and cars were driving past him, and supposedly a taxi driver that was there as well with his lights on. So someone has obviously got to see what had happened.
Children playing. It's a sight we shouldn't take for granted, according to Dr. Paul Tranter. He believes parental fear is forcing many children indoors and that growing up today is vastly different from a generation ago.
If you look at the parents' memories of their childhood experiences, the majority of parents remember having more or far more opportunities for going out on their own when they were children compared with their own child today.
While he says traffic danger is an understandable worry for parents, he blames the media for inciting much of the fear parents feel. Streets
are seen as being lonely, deserted and dangerous places for the children, even coming home from school. And because of that, the fears of assault and molestation of the children are increased.
Dr Tranter's research is supported by Newcastle University academic Christine Tandy, who took his findings one step further. She interviewed 421 children and their parents about after-school activities.
They are watching television, they are playing the games machine. You ask children, how much telly you're watching each day. Many of them said in excess of 3 hours.
The children indicated, though, that they would rather be outside playing.
Children aren't learning by their own personal experience when they're indoors. They're just getting another person's perception of what the real world is about.
Jodie McKay, NBN News.
Bingara residents were today told by Westpac the local branch had to close because it was no longer a viable proposition for the financial giant. The move has enraged the town's small population, seeing it as yet a further withdrawal of essential services from the bush.
Now, one of the important things that we feel about country areas is dealing with people, knowing who you deal with and having a face on the other side of the desk, and they are taking that away from us.
From October the 27th, Bingara will be left with only the National Australia Bank branch. Business with Westpac will have to be done in Inverell, an hour's drive away.
I can't understand why they don't look at a town such as Bingara and see what the potential is when we're in the middle of the worst drought on ever, and we can only improve our situation.
Locals say it's been their patronage over the years which has built up the banks in the town. Westpac's withdrawal is seen as a betrayal of their past support.
I just hope that the National Australia Bank stays with Bingara and supports us in the manner that they have over the years.
"73-year-old Norman Torres of Windale is charged with attempting to murder Senior Constable Gary Coates. According to the Crown, Senior Constable Coates and Sergeant Bruce Coffey were called to a house in Fathom Place at Salamander Bay in December last year after Torres breached a bail undertaking that he stay away from the area. It's alleged Torres produced a shortened .303 calibre rifle from the back of a hire car. The court heard that one of the officers yelled the word gun and moved toward the accused. Senior Constable Coates told how he tried to grab the gun, which was pointed at his face. "I grabbed the muzzle of the rifle and moved it away from my face. At that time, the rifle discharged." He said the weapon was 5 centimetres from his head when it fired. According to the Crown prosecutor, Tace deliberately aimed the weapon at Senior Constable Coates and discharged it. He told the jury that Tace shot at the police officer with the intention of murdering him. Senior Constable Coates said that since the incident, he has experienced a ringing noise in his left ear. The trial is expected to last all week. Jodie McKay, NBN News. Staff at Belmont Hospital became concerned when 39-year-old Angela Foley didn't turn up for her 7 o'clock shift yesterday morning. They called police, who broke into the Stanley Street house.
She was laying on the bedroom floor in an unconscious state with a great deal of blood loss, and the police who attended immediately contacted the ambulance.
Mrs Foley was rushed to John Hunter Hospital where she remains in a critical condition with head injuries. The mother of 4 lived alone in the house after recently moving from another Belmont address. Police say she finished work at 10:30 Sunday night. They think she may have been attacked in the early hours of Monday morning. They believe she may have been struck by a hatchet or a similar weapon.
It was a very vicious attack, yes.
Police are yet to determine a motive for the savage attack. They say the house had not been broken into. One line of inquiry they're following, though, is that Mrs Foley may have known her attacker. In the last 3 months, 120 cars in the inner city have been broken into. The thieves smashed the smaller window on the vehicle, allowing them to open the car door. Senior Constable James Frith is heading Operation Source, which aims to catch those responsible. He says in most cases the cars targeted have been in inner city car parks. The thieves roaming the levels, searching for cars they know contain valuables.
They're basically things that are visible and are easily seen from outside of the vehicle. Things like sunglasses, money, change within the consoles, that sort of thing.
Police are asking people to hide their valuables. Operation Source will run throughout October. Already, though, police have had a positive result.
On Sunday evening, 2 persons were arrested at Newcastle Railway Station. They were subsequently interviewed by police here at Newcastle Detectives and were charged in relation to 40 matters. Most of those were stealing from motor vehicles.
While most of the Breakers squad have had a short break from the game, Ralph Mayer has been preoccupied with regaining his fitness. The 31-year-old ruptured a medial ligament at his knee in a Waratah Cup game 2 months ago.
Well, it's been a gradual transition through physiotherapists and just rebuilding the muscle bulk around that knee joint. It's come along, but yeah, hopefully it's worked out well, and I'm looking forward to being a part of the team on Friday.
And that task will be against a formidable UTS Olympic side, formerly known as Sydney Olympic, which contains a striker well known to the Breakers. Former Newcastle player Nick Meredith has been part of Olympic's solid pre-season build-up, with locals only too aware of his talents. But Mayer is also capable of producing that winning touch and will play a vital role this Friday night.
They're going to be strong. Obviously, we've only been together for about a week and a half, 2 weeks. We haven't really had a trial game, so that's going to be difficult. But we'll go out there and give our best shot, and I'm sure we'll come away with a pleasing result.
Relocating the old lead smelter within the next 40 years is one of 3 conditions Council wants the state government to impose on Pasmenco if its major expansion plans are approved.
Well, it needs to go to an industrial area, either within Lake Macquarie, further west, or somewhere else, but certainly an industrial area. It's just not appropriate in this residential area.
Council wants Minister Knowles to support its call for an independent daily monitoring system to be set up and for World Health standards on lead emissions to be properly enforced.
If the Minister is to approve a 30,000 tonne increase in zinc in this smelter, surely he must consider these three things. This is our last window of opportunity to look at an ultimate relocation. And if you're saying it's not appropriate within 40 years, well, you must be saying that it should remain here forever.
A spokesperson from Pasminco was unavailable for comment on the issue. However, during a recent inquiry into the company's proposed expansion, Pasminco made it clear it had no intentions of relocating. Late this afternoon, Pasminco announced it will be asking the Planning Minister to accept the Commissioner's conditions of approval so that work can start on the $41 million upgrade as soon as possible. The Minister is expected to make his final decision next month.
I'm not objecting to the expansion, provided we can get this relocation strategy and these other conditions. No one's asking that they close down tomorrow. That'd be unreasonable.
Melinda Smith, NBN News.
It's a giant seabird, a huge flying caravan, and it's home for John and Joyce Proctor.
The idea was to have a bit of an adventure, and I thought it was real romantic to take an old flying boat around the world. So here we are.
The Albatross plane was built in 1954, used as a search and rescue craft. But for 26 years it sat at an American Air Force base until John and Joyce Proctor, with the help of friends, brought her back to life. John and Joyce flew into Williamtown near Newcastle today. They set out from the States, flew through Canada, Russia, Japan, the Philippines and now Australia. The 19-tonne plane is their home for the year they are away. It represents their life savings with all the mod cons of a house with wings. But who is the captain of this flight?
And, you have certain jobs that you do in the left seat and certain jobs from the right seat because no one person can operate the plane. So.
After Australia, they'll fly to New Zealand and back up through the South Pacific and home. The seaplane will be at Rutherford near Maitland over the weekend. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
If you thought there were more than just pennies from heaven falling at Charlestown today, you were right. High above the pavement, an unbelievable sight for those passing by.
What do you think's up there? Does it look real? Does it look real?
Yes, money.
The Great Wall of Money is the latest joint promotion between NBN and Radio 2HD. Over the next month, people will have the chance to guess exactly how much cash is on offer. Rumour has it, it's more than $5,000 worth.
Well, I think about $10,000. $10,000, I'd say, between 7 and 10, because I can't see how far it goes.
$7,062, exactly.
Why are you so sure about that?
Because I've heard they've put $1 and $2 coins behind the notes.
And just to make sure the prize money will be paid in full, the billboard will be kept under guard 24 hours a day.
We've got 2 sets of photo electronic beams. If anyone tries to break the beam, it will automatically go into alarm, which registers in our control room at Broadmeadow.
Humans increasingly seem at odds with nature, and it was 2 years ago that poachers raided a bird hatchery on an area known as Coon Island in Swansea Channel. A generation of terns, pelicans, silver gulls and cormorants was disrupted. Unborn chicks died after eggs were taken from nests, some smashed in the process. Thoughtless intrusions by sightseers also caused damage. However, because it's a popular recreation area, the Department of Land and Water Conservation has refused to bar people from the island, and Lake Macquarie City Council is investigating the cost of funding flora and fauna studies with a view to establishing boardwalks and viewing areas. In the meantime, with the nesting season underway, it's an environmental balancing act which relies on people doing the right thing. The National Parks and Wildlife Service imposes tough penalties for disturbing the hatcheries. For boat owners, the long-awaited deepening of the nearby channel gets underway tomorrow, with a dredge being moved into place. Andrew Lobb, NBN News.